welcome everyone to our March board meeting. I will start by reading the appeal of decisions pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws. Please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days before entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. We'll move to the consideration of minutes. I assume everyone's read the minutes. Are there any changes?
So moved.
I have a motion of approval. A second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes carry. Any Metro referrals today?
Nope.
All right. We will move on to old business. 021907, Mr. Scott Tigert, representing the Miracle Field of Music City, requests board approval of the following naming rights request. The MLMC requests permission for the naming rights to the complex of the Miracle Field of Music City to be named Miles for Miles Miracle League of Music City. The complex consists of the playing field area, the concession stand area, fan area, bathrooms, and the playground. The Miles for Miles Foundation is a nonprofit 501c3 located here in Middle Tennessee area and helps in funding programs for Down syndrome families. In exchange for the naming rights to the MLMC complex, the Miles for Miles Foundation has pledged $350,000 to the MLMC. We just had a naming committee meeting, and I will ask the chair of the naming committee to report to the board.
Yes, what you just read, Mr. Chairman, we had 3 people there on this committee. We voted, it was 2-1 for approval, and now we bring it before the full board for a motion up or down.
I make a motion to defer to next month so we have more time to understand the full policy.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to defer and also a second. We're open for discussion.
I would like to see legal and the staff give us a summary of where we have sponsorships, tee boxes, banners along fields to understand how we do this as it relates to the policy, but specifically related to the field names. This is not asking to rename Warner Parks, but I'd like to understand with more detail from the staff and legal counsel.
And I can just say that your naming policy applies to parks. It also applies to recreation facilities. It applies to athletic fields. The policy doesn't differentiate between naming a park and naming a recreation facility. It applies to recreation facilities and parks equally.
Any further discussion?
I might just bring up that this has been a long time in the making, and that there's a possibility of compromise of the gift with delays. So I think that's something to take into consideration.
Any further discussion before we take a vote?
Is there a deadline?
No, but there's some timing issues that if we're going to do this, we need to do it sooner than later because of some in-kind gifts for grading and other things. It would need to be done during the dry season. So it's March. Hopefully we can make a decision by April, so that was what was said in the committee meeting.
So I guess I could just understand specifically, other than what has already been shared in the policy, what specifically does the board need?
Well, see, the issue is, and I'm sorry you missed a naming committee meeting earlier, but there's, right, just so you'll know, I didn't mean it that way, other than you weren't there to hear it, but the name has a person who's alive within the name.
Gotcha.
That's typically against our policy.
Right. Okay.
So that's kind of the crux of this. It's a very generous donation. Everyone acknowledges that, but it also is precedent setting for us.
Okay.
And so That's kind of the.
Gotcha.
There is a provision in the naming policy for an exception for a significant contribution to the entity, and this is a significant contribution to the overall cost of the project. So I think we have the latitude to decide not to.
I'll add just historically on this board that we've been very careful about naming also, so you'll know. Because it's, once you name a park or name a facility like this, it's in perpetuity.
Oh,
so,
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
Schools have the same problem.
Right.
So I just want to be, just get a clarity for whatever additional information is being requested, that we know what we're asking staff to forward to the board, because I'm just not clear on what that is.
You know, George, there's one thing here, though, that says the only exception to this policy is when a significant financial contribution is made and the naming is a condition of the gift, which I think gives us the right to do this.
Well, right now there's a motion for deferral, so that's where we are in terms of the board. So I can't. That's a good point, but for what the motion has been seconded on the floor, it is for a deferral. Any further discussion?
Mr. Haynes, would you state again what you are requesting from
Yeah,
staff?
I'd really like to understand from staff, and legal's already explained her position, where we have fields and/or other sponsorships throughout the system, so we can understand the protocol with what we're about to approve. And that's why I support the deferral.
And I will also say, I think a few months ago, you all named a field.
For somebody living, Mickey Hyder.
For someone else that was
his
living,
name?
the Mickey Hyder
Yeah,
field.
in East Nashville.
So
Yeah.
this seems to be consistent with not only your policies, but what you've done in the past, actually.
So would not be the precedent-setting decision, because the precedent's already been set.
No, it would not be.
I don't know if Charlie can speak.
After that's called.
It's the motion for deferral.
I'm not
I don't know if he can. Charlie, I'm not sure. Hang on. Excuse me one second.
That's legal.
I got to ask Macy, is it appropriate for Mr. Tiger to speak? I mean, he's not on the list.
That's up to the chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I'm here. My brother is, as you know, is a pilot, and there was some bad weather throughout the country, and he was called into emergency duty. So I'm Charlie Tigert. I'm Scott's older brother. Just to give you a very quick recap for those of you all that weren't in the committee, this field is very personal to Scott and I because it was built not by Metro Parks originally. The two original fields there on Old Hickory Boulevard were built through Parks' permission to the Hillsborough Harding Exchange Club, and my father is chair of that committee. We were brought up watching 9mm film of Dad sitting on a bulldozer that he didn't know how to drive, trying to figure out how to excavate that field. It gave us, for the first time, a place to play ball that wasn't a rundown school, backyard, no seating for parents type of thing. So it's very personal to us. When the West Nashville Sports League first approached this board, it's probably almost 2 to 3 years, probably 3 years ago type thing. There was a lot of protocols involved in getting this approval from the board using the standards set by the National Miracle Field Foundation. So since that time, fields have been built in Murfreesboro. We've all heard about the David Price $350,000 donation in Murfreesboro. Gallatin, Lewisburg, mid-state towns all over. And the reason why these fields are cropping up is because, as Monique has described to me, this is the most underserved element of our population where disabled kids will have an opportunity to play ball. What's significant is all those other fields that were built in the last 5 years all required significant governmental taxpayer contributions. The West Nashville Sports League, through its foundation and fundraising, is not asking the taxpayers for anything. They're asking for the ability to raise funds and using that national protocol and asking for that lead donation for $350,000. Clearly, in my opinion, if you ask Macy, the exception in paragraph H there, this board has the authority. Here's the risk we run. The chair has mentioned There are significant in-kind contributions for grading, architectural services that you're totally dependent upon the ability of those benevolent folks to do this work in their off-season or get ready or when the time is right. That means instead of that $2 million of cash, it may be only half that amount necessary in cash, with the rest being in-kind donations. The need is clearly there. A delay damages, first of all, we don't know how long this foundation will be with us. We think the commitment is solid, but they keep asking, you know, when do you want the check? When is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? No fault of yours or anybody, but now the timing is right. The West Nashville Sports League set up a foundation to go out and solicit donations, and this has been actively going on for over a year. And for you all that serve on other nonprofits, you know when you go ask people for significant $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 donations, the window of opportunity is slim to get that money. This board is losing credibility, not your board, the West Nashville board is losing credibility every day that they can't say, hey, we're ready to go. The ground's being broken, the architectural plans are ready, etc. We run the risk of each month, whereas it sounds insignificant, you know, another 30 days, when you're in this time period after the delays that have already been existing. We want the opportunity for these kids with disabilities. I told you it was personal. There's a picture of me and another kid as 10-year-olds raising the flag to open the season out there at Warner Parks at the Bob Harrigus Fields. There's an opportunity for a championship team to play ball. Guess what? Miles and his cohorts with handicap issues, disability issues, Down syndrome, paralysis, whatever it may, those kids don't have the same opportunity that you and I and our kids have to play ball on a great metro field. That's what the need is. Not to miss another season, to allow us to get this done within your parameters. I don't know, yes, your policy may need to be tweaked, but clearly the exception already exists there. We talked a lot in the committee meeting about, you know, precedent and the worry that some rich person will come and want to name a park after their kid and this type of thing. And clearly that's an issue that you all can address in your approval process. But, you know, the fact that this is miles for miles and it's not using a kid's last name, I'm glad that the kid is living. If he was dead now and would not have ever had the chance to participate and have the fun and the opportunity that other kids have had with these disabilities, I'm glad that he's alive. If he was dead, this wouldn't even be an issue. We'd already done it and gone on. But the fact that he's still alive, but the fact we're not using his last name, we're not using the family name, we're using the foundation name. You know, I think Mr. Haynes made great points, but, you know, when we have sponsorships on ball field fences of the ABC Corporation and companies and whatnot, you know, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but people have come to expect that because they want the availability of these fields to be affordable, and without those sponsorships, these leagues can't survive. And I think that's a great policy.
It
so
isn't a sponsorship, it's a name.
It's a naming type situation.
But we need to move on. So
Thank you.
Are there any questions or any more further discussion before we take a vote?
What are the delays that preceded today's request for another delay that Mr. Tiger is?
All right, I'll call for,
Provision delays.
I think that's on their end, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna call for a vote.
There was a motion by Jeff, correct?
Yeah, in a second.
Motion by
Is a second to defer to the next meeting?
Motion by Suzanne.
A motion by Susanna, second by Jeff.
To defer.
Right, Janet, to defer till the next meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so the motion is not deferred. So, yeah, we accept the motion for approval or not to approve.
I moved to.
Can I make add a point for discussion? So I think that, to me, the place where it falls outside of our naming policy is that it is naming a foundation. So I guess maybe I need a little bit more information. That hasn't happened before. So this is a new territory, and I just want to recognize that. I guess I'm interested in finding out a little bit more about the person who is living that was. Macy, could you comment about the conditions on the, because this is before I was on the Parks Board, about the other person who was.
I don't remember the specifics. It was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, and maybe John Holmes could speak to it, because the previous park director came in and supported the renaming of the field for the river. So maybe.
We're talking Shelby at the Old Timers Field, and Mickey Hyder, who's been a member of Old Timers. I mean, he is Old Timers. They made a request to name the field after him, and the park board approved that, and now the field is named. I think it's Mickey Hyder Field. So he's a living, yeah. He still is alive and still running things at that facility.
So I guess, I mean, my question back is that I think that if it were a person's name who was alive, who was the child that has the disability, I would feel differently than if it were the name of a foundation, because that then puts it into a new category in my mind.
All right, so
To be clear, the foundation name is the Miles for Miles Foundation. This is not being named the Miles for Miles Foundation Field. It's being named the Miles for Miles Miracle League of Music City. It is not a foundation name. It's just a name.
So it's right.
Or the complex.
The request naming rights for the complex of the Miracle Field of Music City to be named. So the naming rights to the complex to be named Miles for Miles Miracle League of Music City. It would be the name.
And the foundation is the Miles for Miles Foundation. So it's not named.
So the word foundation would not be in the name. That's a good point. All right, so we don't have anything on the floor right now for 02-1907. So if someone wants to make a motion, it's not deferred, and it's.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion for approval from Mr. Fawcett. Is there a second? Second, Terry seconds it. Any discussion on the motion for approval? All those in favor to approve, raise your hands, please. There's 4 opposed. There's 2. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to 02-1910, staff request board approval to apply and ultimately accept the license agreement with the Tennessee Department of Transportation to utilize an estimated 2.07 acres of TDOT surplus property located along the east bank of the Cumberland River between 1 Gaylord Drive and 02 Rivers Court for the purpose of constructing a multi-use greenway trail from the Cumberland River pedestrian bridge to the Opry Mills complex.
The Acquisitions Committee met and recommends approval of this matter.
Entertain a motion for approval.
So be it.
We have a motion for approval. A second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 02-1911, staff request board approval to accept 1 temporary construction access agreement and 2 permanent greenway conservation easements from Ryman Hospitality Group and 1 temporary construction access agreement from the Simon Group, Inc. on property located along the east bank of the Cumberland River between 1 Gaylord Drive and 02 Rivers Court for the purpose of constructing a multi-use greenway trail from the Cumberland River pedestrian bridge to the Opry Mills complex.
The Acquisitions Committee met and recommends approval of this matter as well.
We have a motion for approval.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda. Accept the motion for the entire consent agenda, if there's no objection to that.
I make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda carries. Moving to new business, 031902, the Metropolitan Development and Housing Authority requests Parks Board approval to fund construction of Phase 1 of the Jefferson Street Market Park up to a total of $850,000. MDHA will oversee the procurement and construction management of the project.
Tim?
Rebecca Rotz is here, who's the project manager, who can answer any questions or
Any
provide a
points you want to make?
project
Or
And this funding is coming, it's MDHA funding, correct? And it's only on our agenda because it's Park Board property, correct?
It's 100% MDHA
Correct.
funding, and that is 100% of the
Phase
Phase
one.
1 project construction
Okay.
cost.
Good.
Anything you want to add?
the staff recommends the staff recommends approval.
Yes.
So accept the motion. I have a motion for approval. Second, any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
This is phase 1. What's phase 2, and will that cost money? Do we have that?
Phase 2 will cost money, and it is in it is in our Metro Parks capital improvements budget, which of course is just the master wish list of projects, but that would make it eligible for capital spending plan funds in the future.
And it is a high priority project for the department, so, yeah.
Any further questions? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. 031903, Friends of Shelby Park request Park Board approval to seek historic preservation grant funds from the Tennessee Historic Commission and commit matching funds of up to $16,000 for the assessment and repair of historic concrete structures in Shelby Park.
Tim?
Tim?
This is a very generous offer on behalf of Friends of Shelby Park and Shelby Bottoms to match funds should they be awarded to the Metro Historical Commission from the Tennessee Historical Commission to do a historic structures assessment of the various concrete historic structures in Shelby Park. There are a number of concrete structures that are about 100 years old in that park that were initially engineered by C.E. Lewis, who was an early Park Board member. He came up with the original layout for the Tennessee Centennial Exposition in Centennial Park, and he loved cast-in-place poured concrete. So there are a few of those structures left in Shelby Park, and this would help us come up with a strategy
Was he
for
the
preservation.
clamshell?
The clamshell, yeah.
Famous clamshell.
The boat prow, the gunboat monument, and some bridges in Centennial Park as well. And Katie Burris is here with Friends of Shelby Park, if you have any questions.
So I will just say, so again, this is not a grant coming to the department. This is just Parks property, and the Metro Historical Commission will receive the award, and Friends of Shelby will provide the match.
Any questions? Motion for approval?
I'll make a motion.
Second? I got a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to new business, 031904, staff request board approval to enter into a one-year permit with Old Timers Baseball Association for use of the regulation baseball field, Jack Lavender Field, for organized amateur athletic activities. John?
We had, when you all approved all of the annual permits, we had proof that had been taking care of that field in the past. They have since dissolved. We went to RBI first, since they run the youth baseball fields there in the park in Seven Oaks. This is at Seven Oaks Park. They didn't have the resources to take care of this. Mickey Hyder, or Old Timers, because of their involvement with high school baseball, and Jack Lavender Field, those are the two primary locations that the Metro high schools that don't have ball fields use for their playing. So it just seemed like a good fit for him to take care of that. Plus, he's very good. I mean, anybody who's seen the Old Timer Fields does a great job. So we have confidence in him, and we're supportive of this.
Staff supports and recommends approval. Entertain a motion. Second? Any discussion? All those in favor? The motion carries. Moving on to special presentations. We have two today. First, we'll welcome Mr. Terry Cook, representing the Nature Conservancy, who will make a presentation to the board. Welcome, Terry. Terry just had the global board of the Nature Conservancy in Nashville, which was I'm sure a big deal, and hope it went well.
We missed you.
I was out of town.
Indeed. As that is getting up and going, I've got a presentation I'd like to provide to you, just to give you a little background on the Nature Conservancy. And I don't think we've actually come to the board in the past. And so this is, I appreciate the invitation, Chairman. Monique, appreciate the invitation to come here. Talk a little bit about who the Nature Conservancy is and some ideas of how the Conservancy can partner with Metro Parks. So I'm going to give you a sort of a quick 101 and sort of walk you through that. And I don't know how many of you sort of know who the Conservancy is, but I'm quite pleased to be here today to just give you a short presentation. So I serve as the Executive Director of the Nature Conservancy here in Tennessee. I've been with TNC for 25 years. I've been in the Nashville area for about 3 years or so. Let's see if we can. There's always the trick. So the mission of the Nature Conservancy, many of you may know, is just to protect the lands and waters of which all life depends. We are conservation organizations. We have been around for close to 70 years now. We've been working here in Tennessee for 40 years. In fact, December of last year was our 40th year, our 40th anniversary. The Conservancy is actually the largest environmental conservation organization in the world. We're in all 50 states. We work in 72 countries. We've protected close to 120 million acres worldwide. In Tennessee alone, we've protected 340,000 acres. So we have a long history of land protection as well as management of those properties. We are a science-based organization. We are nonpartisan. We are not the kind of organization that brings lawsuits. We are very solution-oriented. I started my career as a scientist with the Nature Conservancy. That's how we were founded, by scientists, and that's really how we approach our work in terms of land acquisition or land management. Again, we hit our 40th year anniversary. It's an exciting time for us to look back on the history of the work that we've done. We've protected iconic landscapes that many of you, I'm sure, have been to. Right here, locally, one of our very first projects back in the 70s was Radnor Lake. Places like Walls of Jericho, those are all, we've helped establish or create 30 state natural areas, 3 national wildlife areas, 13 wildlife management areas in the state. Places like the Northern Cumberland's WMA, the second largest conservation project in the state, second only to the Smoky Mountains, 128,000 acres. Our newest in partnerships with corporations that we often partner with in terms of sustainability goals is the Bridgestone Nature Reserve at Chestnut Mountain, which is in White County, 6,000 acre donation from Bridgestone. We work below ground as well. We protected most of the hibernacular caves across Tennessee. So we work above ground, we work below ground. Iconic places like the Duck River, one of the most biodiverse rivers in the nation, and the Hatchie in West Tennessee. So we're across the state. We work sort of inland and water, land protection as well as land management and the research that goes into these partnerships. Globally, if you look at our priorities, we're work on sort of 5 areas: tackling climate change, protecting land and water, provide food and water sustainability, building healthy cities, and connecting people to nature. So when you think about sort of how Metro Parks thinks about the facilities and engaging of people, many of the things that the park is dedicated to, the Nature Conservancy is dedicated to as well. One of the new areas that we're engaged in is really building healthy cities. Much of the work that we have done in the past, much of that 340,000 acres has taken place in some of our more rural areas. But as you think about the 9 billion people that we'll have by 2050, 75% of them worldwide will live in cities. And increasingly, there's a need to make sure that connection between people and nature is maintained, and realize that the health and well-being of nature, of people, is dependent on that relationship with nature. So our goal in our Healthy Cities program is really change the relationship between nature and cities, understanding that both of them can thrive. Our strategies here in Nashville right now are focused on two areas. One is cities by design. Really, how do you incorporate nature into city planning? How do you think about the conservation, the biodiversity of those areas and planning associated with that, as well as healthy air. We are involved in Root Nashville, which is a new initiative that many of these partner organizations have started last fall to plant 500,000 trees and help expand our urban canopy that has taken a hit over the last decade. But we're also looking at how we can more successfully partner with the city on some of these large regional parks. And one of the areas that we've worked with staff on is the Stone Rivers Bend or Ravenwood, or a number of names that it goes by. But here is a beautiful addition to the Metro Parks area. It's got wild areas, has areas available for more intensive development for recreation, but we think there's a unique ability to add value to this project, help activate this project, and so we really want to sort of bring this idea to you and just realize that we were starting a conversation to see how we can add value to this particular project. If you look at the master plan for there is 800 acres or so in this regional park. In the master plan, it basically says, you know, we've got this property, but it will require more resources to manage this well and activate it than Metro currently has. And as part of that, in the master plan, is the call for new and unique partnerships with organizations that align their mission with the goals and the mission of Metro Parks. And so we've sort of thought about this as a unique opportunity where the skill sets of the Nature Conservancy could blend with the skill sets of Metro and really think about how we work effectively together at Stones Bend, but not limited to Stones Bend. I hope a partnership can grow that would actually assist other of the large regional parks around the city. We have a great presence and a great membership. We are already starting sort of to be active. Monique is looking at, that is my wife and my children, sort of marching in one of the activities that we had downtown Nashville. But I'm excited about the opportunity to work with you all. I'm excited about the opportunity to partner, leverage our private philanthropy resources with the public resources. Yeah, well, we've looked at, especially on Stones River Bend, in terms of how that land would be managed, less intensively than many other parks, how we would help restore grasslands, how we would sort of develop that areas that would be more natural, bottomland areas, grassland restoration, management. Part of the master plan also calls for sort of how do we maintain this sort of in more of an agricultural maintenance where we might have grazing on a portion of the park. We're actually about to hire a director of agriculture for the chapter as well, which would participate in this. But it is really around the restoration and management, as well as thinking about how we provide public access and education about these natural areas.
And just to include, I've asked staff from our environmental education division and our open space division to work with Mr. Cook to explore possibilities to see, how we can work together.
Thank you for that. So, thank you all.
Thank you. See you. Take care. All right. Our next presentation today is from Isaac Thompson with Live Nation to present the annual update to the board for our partnership at Ascend.
Well, thank you as well. Always a pleasure to be here with you guys, see some friendly faces. As I mentioned, I am Isaac Thompson. I work for Live Nation in our U.S. Concerts division. I was brought to Nashville, started 2015, for this specific reason, to work on the Ascend Amphitheater on behalf of Live Nation and in partnership with the city. We've really enjoyed our partnership. We love working with you guys. Hopefully all of you have had a chance to come out and check out Ascend, but if you haven't, wanted to give a brief little clip of what you're missing out there. So. So again, hopefully you've had a chance to be out there. It truly is a beautiful piece of land, something you guys should be very proud of. As Metro Parks, as a city, right there in Riverfront Park. Incredible site, incredible place to be on a show night. We surely enjoyed. Here's a list of some concerts from 2018, the list of shows we brought through. We had a great year. Ticket sales were great. I think that's a testament to our booking team and they've got quite the challenge with the oversaturation of music and Bridgestone, Ryman, everywhere you look. So the fact that we still have bands lining up to play, we never have a problem filling that schedule. It's definitely a testament to the site and to the experience that's there. If you haven't had a chance, let me know. We'd love to get you out there and check out a show. A recap of last year of 2018, again, 44 evenings of the year had events for us at the amphitheater. Between our events, our partnership with the Nashville Symphony Orchestra, as well as working on some civic events with the Sports Council, putting on a concert in tangent with the Music City Marathon, CMA Fest, which we'll do again this year, as well as the 4th of July celebration fireworks. We did a couple other benefit concerts, working with different partnerships throughout the city. So, again, something we enjoy doing. We love seeing all the different things that come through, both Metro, civic events, as well as events we're putting out there. Community is a big piece of it. I wanted to highlight a couple things we did kind of for the first time this year. We did some trainings, which was cool. We not only for our staff, but for some medical professions, had a Stop the Bleed training class out at the site. We did a ice rink, believe it or not, on stage this winter. Worked with Stefan, brought out some community center folks on some afternoons. That was a hit. We had a lot of fun doing that. Some awards programs, as well as partnered with Dierks Bentley and the Monroe Carell Junior Children's Hospital to raise money, doing a center stage gala there. So again, some new things we haven't done in the past, always looking to try to see how we can best partner with community organizations, as well as raise funds and find some great programming outside of just the concerts that come down to the amphitheater. The economic impact, again, I like to show this slide yearly, just again to make sure you guys are seeing the impact the partnership has, just to be able to generate some revenue, not only for parks, but also the city through tax revenue as well as Metro revenue. As you go through it, through our contract with the city as an operator, we have a base payment in addition to some variable seat fees based on tickets. So you'll see we got over that $1 million mark for the first time in our contract with the city, and that was mostly driven by ticket sales last year, which again, a testament to the team putting some great acts there that are selling tickets. So you'll see that. In addition, we have charity foundation with the Nashville Parks Foundation, Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, that gets $1 a ticket, split 50-50 between those two foundations. So if you're keeping track year over year, you've got anywhere from about 100 to 200,000 tickets sold, which lines up with that $1 charity. That seems to be the sweet spot going into what's hard to believe, season 5 of concerts out there, but that's where you get that Metro revenue, in addition to the state city revenue from tax. Again, is from our ticket sales, as well as concession, food and beverage, liquor taxes, to generate some of that city tax revenue data that you see up there. Another big piece we like to highlight every year is diversity, and this is specific to our goals as a part of the bid when we bid out the operation of the venue for how we operate, how we do staffing. A lot of that qualifying spend is from transportation, fencing, consulting, labor, staffing, catering. Our goal is always 20% of our discretionary spend, working with DBD certified vendors. We've hit that each year. The running total is 31% from grand opening to today of what we've spent there. And then again, just highlighting as we move forward into this year, already quite a few shows and concerts have announced. We've got more coming up daily, it seems. I think what you've got in your hands, we've added 4 more to this presentation in over a week. So again, we're right in the thick of booking for 2019 and getting that season set up. We just need some warm weather to go with it. So hopeful thoughts with that. And again, definitely want to highlight the partnership. We have a great working relationship with everyone on staff, and really do enjoy working with this team here. So thank you guys for the time and the partnership. Appreciate you. Yeah.
All right, Tim, you're on the wrong side of the room, but we'll let you report anyway.
He's trying to redeem himself
Yeah,
on the right side.
I was going to say.
I'll just hit the highlights. The Bellevue Community Center is under construction. This is a community center plus a Preds ice facility. So this is a general services managed project. So they did an early release of grading and structural, so that's what's under construction. Meanwhile, we're still wrapping up design for finishes and fixtures and that kind of thing. Centennial Park Phase 2, construction contract has been awarded to Rock City Construction. Unfortunately, the building and grading permits that we had in place expired while it was waiting in the queue at the purchasing department. So we are getting those permits back in place before they can put up the construction fencing and break ground. Jefferson Street, you got the information about NDHA's very generous $850,000. That design is complete, and we should be able to break ground on that within the next few months. At Ravenwood Park, Rebecca has helped manage an agreement that you all approved, I think, last month, with Route Nashville to start planting trees there, and the first big day of that's going to be this Saturday. At Tony Rose Park, this is, of course, the project where Panatone is doing improvements in the park. The weather has continued to delay that work, but fingers crossed all of that will be completed this month.
Tim, when will that mosaic, is it a mosaic?
It'll be a
mural.
Yeah,
will that be
on
this
the asphalt.
Spring, summer, or?
It'll be spring. I don't know if a firm date has been set for that, but I think they're talking April.
So the timing of the delay might be good for.
Yeah. For Wharf Park, the evaluation committee to award a master planning and design contract shortlisted 3 firms. That list of 3 firms will go to the mayor for approval. Meanwhile, the purchasing department has had to send a master list of all firms that Metro contracts with to Metro Council for approval. And Metro Council has deferred on that for a couple of meetings. Hopefully tonight they will approve that master list of contract firms, and that will allow that short list of 3 to go to the mayor for award. In Percy Warner Park, the Page Road parking lot across from the Bellmead Gates is finished essentially, and that will open to the public this Friday. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Tim? Rick, on Fort Negley, the deconstruction of Greer, any update?
Yeah, a contract's been awarded to a company out of Cincinnati called Independence Deconstruction. They are planning to do a TDEC meeting on Tuesday, March 12th, and then a pre-construction meeting that morning, and also would want to do a kickoff meeting that afternoon. And Monday, March 18th is kind of like the tentative mobilization date for them.
All right. Well, thank you for that update. Now we'll move to Jackie for upcoming special activities and events.
Well, if you've noticed, your list is getting longer by the month as we move into warmer weather. Of course, we have more activities. One of the first things coming up is on March 7th. It's the Arbor Day celebration at 11 o'clock. If you'll notice, it's at a different location. Historically, we've had it at Centennial Park. This year it's going to be at East Park. On March 8th, we have the International Women's Day celebration from 6:30 to 11 p.m. At the Parthenon. Some of the activities that will go on during that event is Women in Tech, Women's Mental Health, Her Immigrant Experience, and Women Wounded Warriors. So that's some of the activities that will be going on during the course of that day. Then on March 24th, we have the kickoff of the Echo Chamber Series at the Parthenon. The March 24th performance is with Lachlan Strings. And again, that will be in the interior of the Parthenon. One last event, our disabilities program is having an adult clinic on the best sport on 4 wheels, which is soccer, for this particular event. And that's going to be on March 30th from 1 to 4 p.m. at West Park Community Center. And that's it.
Department heads, any updates this month?
I know.
All right, we'll move to the report of the director.
Okay, thank you. The warming shelter, the last-minute warming shelters that we've been opening and participating in at Shelby Neighborhood Center will be opening again tonight and tomorrow night. We've done it this week, Sunday through Wednesday. So, you know, our weather is up and down, and we cannot predict, but I want to thank our team and all the other coordinating departments for being on call, because it's just an on-call type of thing. I hope most of you have received notices of greenway closures due to rain and flooding, so please pay attention to those. We try to get those out to you know, everybody who is on our mailing list, council people and constituents alike.
Have we had much damage?
I don't think we've been able to assess it yet, because some areas were still underwater.
Oh.
So as of Friday, I think our notices went out on Friday with about 10 sections of different greenways that were closed. So we'll assess that going forward and make those repairs as we can. Tomorrow, I have a pre-budget meeting with the finance director to discuss our FY20 operating budget request, and I'm so looking forward to that. No, it'll be fine. But I will, of course, update you after that meeting. As I mentioned before, we have a tentative date, a tentative time period, I guess, for our budget hearing with the mayor. It'll be sometime the week of March 25th. And as soon as I get that date, I will confirm that with you all. Anybody have any questions?
Is that where you would like us to come and support?
Sure. That I would like for you all to come to attend that hearing, as well as the one for the council, which is likely in May. Okay. So I'll get those dates to you as soon as I can. Okay. Thank you.
Any other items or agenda items or future agenda items? I'll make entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'm looking at you.
So.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.